I'm Lisa from That's Her Business.
And I'm Colette. Today we're going to be interviewing Margaret Hirsch from Hirsch's, which is the largest independently owned appliance and electronic retail outlet in South Africa.
Welcome, Margaret. We're very happy to have you here with us today.
Thank you, and I'm happy to be here. I'm sitting on my veranda, you're working from home, in my beautiful home in Joburg, looking over the whole vista of Johannesburg. It's amazing. So if you see my hair blowing, somebody says, how come you're at work and your hair's blowing? I said, because I'm sitting outside the veranda. So yes, I'm thoroughly loving working from home. I love being in my shops as well, but it's so nice to be able to work from home and just have all your home comforts here. And how have you girls been doing over the lockdown and now getting out of lockdown?
Yeah, it's been challenging. It's had its challenges, but also really enjoying the fact that it's sort of like we've had to take a step back and enjoying that a little bit too. You know, time to reflect, relook at things, and it's been good. It has its positives, definitely.
Pivots, the buzzword pivots, which we all had to do, just change direction a little bit to make sure the business keeps going.
Absolutely.
Margaret, so Hirsch's was started 41 years ago. That's incredible. Can you tell us about how that all began?
Well, we'd been married for 5 years, and I decided it's time to have a baby. So I fell pregnant with my very wanted baby. And as soon as I told my boss I was pregnant, he fired me instantly. So I had no job. And at the same time, my husband was very disgruntled with his job. It was in the days of, my son was born in 1976. So in about 74, 75, 76, when Ellen J. Hellman started Game, Dion Friedlander started Dion's, Tony Factor was big in Joburg. People were starting to discount. And my husband was a repairman. And he worked for a boss who would sell the product. So he would fix the fridge. And if he couldn't fix it, he'd say to his boss, sell him a new fridge. And his boss would go in this huge markup and not sell the fridge. And people were buying discounted appliances. So Alan said, well, why don't we start discounting? And his boss said, well, I'm not going to do that, but if you want to do it, start your own business. So we went from having 2 jobs and no children to having 2 children and no job in the space of 1 year, which is a very good way to get you going in the right direction. So, and that's virtually how it came about. He came home one day, he said, look, I can't work for this boss another minute. I'm going to start my own business. So I said, well, let's count up how much money we got. So we literally counted up how much money we had. We had 900 Rand out of my severance pay, his severance pay. So we said, well, this is it. We're going to start. So Alan was the man going out doing the work, and I was the woman sitting in the office doing the books. And that is the formula that I've used for literally hundreds of businesses since, and it works like a dream. In fact, it is the perfect formula. So so that's what we did. And then I had my children, and we started selling appliances a little bit here and there. I mean, our shop in the beginning was as big as your toilet, so we didn't have much room for scope. But we struck on the microwave oven, and I started, nobody knew what a microwave oven was in 1980. Believe me, they did not. So I started, and I loved it because I love food, I love cooking, and I love speed, and it just put everything together. So I invited my neighbor. I said, come into my kitchen. Look, I've got this thing. And I cooked in half an hour, I cooked a roast chicken, a pineapple upside down cake, and a batch of fudge. And she said, this is amazing. So I want one like that. So her husband bought her one. And so then other neighbors came. In those days we all had our kids, and it was a little neighborhood in Glenanel and Durban. And so they all came round, and we started cooking, and I started showing them how to do it. We started experimenting. You try this tonight, and I'll try this for supper. And so it went, and then it got bigger, and we had to literally take our appliances and put them on the pavement to let the people into the shop so they could sit, and we would cook the food. And I did morning lessons, I did evening lessons. The husbands came, they loved it because they loved the food and they loved the speed. So that's literally how we started. We started very slowly and for a long time. But then the microwave oven was what we call our tipping point. It sent us in the right direction.
It's a great lesson how sometimes when something seems like a really bad thing, actually something good comes from it. Yeah.
For sure, yeah.
Yeah. Margaret, tell me, when you grew up, it was basically you grew up in a man's world. I mean, it really was that then. And what were your dreams as a little girl and as a young lady?
I never thought of having my own business. It never entered my wildest dreams. I come from very poor people, and they were very basic, run-of-the-mill people. My stepfather worked for the post office. He worked there for 54 years, and my mother was a housewife. And that's my people that I come from. I never came from people who said, oh, let's start a business. Let's do this. This is a profit and loss account. They didn't have a clue. My mother married my stepfather. He had 3 teenagers, and we were 2 teenagers. We were 5 teenage children, 2 adults living on 50 Rand a month in Pietermaritzburg. I mean, that is not a luxurious life car by any stretch of the imagination. So I didn't even know how a shop worked. I had no clue. We literally learned from the ground up. We started the business. I started doing the books. We knew what worked and what didn't. We started buying and selling a little bit, one fridge at a time. And then, you evolve. And I always say to people, they say, oh, I'm going to borrow money and have this business. I say, it's not going to work like that, because you as a human being have to evolve to being like that. You have to understand how it works. And I teach people with money today. And I say, God gives you a little bit of money and he sees how you handle it. If you handle it well, he'll give you some more. If you mess up, he don't give you no more. And that's what happens to businesses. They come in, they mess up the money, and God just doesn't give them any more to deal with. So if you have a little bit of money, and that's a philosophy I teach as well. And I always use the example of a lady called Anna who came to see me. I was sitting in my store in Boxburg, and she came in and she said, you've got to help me. I'm tired of being poor. I'm 56. I've been poor my whole life. I don't want this anymore. And I said, how much money have you got in your purse? And she shook it out, and she had 30 Rand in her purse. I said, come. So we went to the spa, and we bought groceries, and we came back, and we made one cake. I said, go and sell that for 60 Rand. So she went and sold it for 60 Rand. She came back. We went back to the spa. We bought ingredients for 2 cakes. We made 2 cakes. We went and sold those for 120 Rand. We came back. We went and bought ingredients for 4 cakes. And so we went on. Today is only 5 years later. Anna owns her own home in Somerset, where she drives a Mercedes-Benz and it's got a double cam. So you see, it's a basic formula which works incredibly well. And I've done it with lawyers, with doctors, with fitness trainers, with plumbers, welders, you name it. It's a system that works. And usually the man does the work and the woman does the books. And it works incredibly well. Why does that work so well? Because if you give a man money, there's always some floozy who's going to be flashing her eyelids at him saying, come on over here, fellow. And men live on their ego, so they go, and the poor wife's left behind with nothing. We don't want that. With the wife's holding the purse strings, the man ain't going nowhere.
I love that. Margaret, tell me, you've given us a little bit of a background of how you started up Hirsch's. And I was going to say to you, it didn't just magically start, but in a way, it kind of was, there was a lot of magic to it.
There's a lot of magic to it. You've got to have a positive attitude. And with that, you draw positive things to yourself. We had a happy attitude. We were in love. We were building. We had beautiful children. We were building our home. And we just had so much going for us. And by the law of attraction, we attracted so much more of that into our lives. We saw other people who were fighting and squabbling and were having yucky lives, and they attracted more yuck into their lives. So it's your attitude that determines your altitude at the end of the day. I think I always tell people the most important thing in your life is your health. Without your health, you can't be the richest person in the graveyard. But the second most important thing is your partner. To get the right partner, your partner will bring you 99% of your happiness or your unhappiness in your life. I was so fortunate to find the right partner. My husband, and people say, how do you manage in a man's world? Well, I grew up without a father. So I never grew up in a patriarchal society. I never thought that I had to look up to a man. I'd never entered my head. I grew up with my mother, and we just did everything together. My mother's still alive today, by the way. So we just did everything together. And I didn't think that I had to ask a man. I've never asked a man for anything in my life. And so, but, having said that, you've got to take responsibility as a woman. If you're going to, I'll have to ask my husband. That's, to me, is like a red rag to a bull. So you've got to take responsibility for yourself and your life. And I did that. I saw my mother being widowed when I was 10. And I don't want to go through that. I don't want to go through not being able to cope with life and how life works and that. So I knew I'd be a strong woman. I knew that I'd be self-sufficient. And I've been so blessed to be married for nearly 50 years. Next year, I'll be married 50 years. But to the most wonderful man who's only ever supported me. And that's what I say to women. If you're with a person who supports you and builds you up, stay there. If you're with somebody who puts you down, leave instantly.
And I think it's probably a lot easier as well when that doubt starts creeping in, because it always does at some stage. If you've got that partner and that support next to you, it makes it that much easier, because someone's got your back.
It makes such a difference. Even if that person hasn't got any money, or it's just boosting your confidence. At the end of the day, you just need someone to say, I'm here for you. And it just gives you the confidence to go on for another day. Yeah.
Margaret, so you obtained your MBA at the age of 70. It's just amazing. Yeah. Congratulations. What made you decide to do it, and where did you find the time and the energy to do it?
Well, I always wanted to go to university. I sort of had this dream of going to university, but when I left school, I mean, we were poor whites, as I told you. There was no hope of it. It was just not even on the cards. Never even discussed it. I mean, it was almost like going to the moon. I wouldn't even thought of it. But I went through my life, and I always saw these people had degrees and that type of thing. And I thought, oh, I'd love to do that. So, and I was quite old. I was almost 60 when I decided to start studying again. So I started off doing short business courses because I'd never done a business course. I just did everything by feel. So I started doing short business courses, and I started really enjoying them. And I've always loved writing. So I thought I'd do a course on journalism, which I did. And I was really good, and it was nice. It was because I'm quite clever, and I used to get really high marks and that. So it was really boosting. And then I did psychology. And I did all the small degrees, I did all through UNISA, and it was really well. So I decided to do psychology. And I remember getting my results, and with UNISA, you get your results on your phone. And I was driving in Joburg, and I thought, I can't look at my phone. I saw UNISA come up. I knew my results were there because I was waiting for them. And I thought, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? So I phoned my PA, she's on speed dial, and I said, Faye, my results are coming through. Have a look and tell me what I've got. Now, I always got like 94, 96. She started crying. I thought somebody died. I said, what happened? She said, you failed. I said, that's impossible. I've never failed at anything in my life. Impossible. She said, I promise you got 23%. I said, but how could I? I was doing things that I know, how to interview people and all that. So I got in my car, I went to UNISA, and I found my professor. They're sitting like little rabbit warrens there. And I found him. I said, why did you fail me? He said, because you didn't write what was in the book. I said, but what's in the book is wrong. I'll tell you in practice, this is how I do it. This is how I interview. This is how I get successful people. But he said, let me tell you, Mrs. Hirsch, if you want to pass, write what's in the book. If you want to fail, you tell me how it is. So that was if you'd hit me with a wet fish, I wouldn't have even thought about it. But I thought, well, now that you've got to conform. So I'm a non-conformist anyway, but I wanted to pass. So I went back, I wrote what was in the book, and I passed. And then I did a business degree. I thought I'd do a business degree. So I did my degree. And then after that, I did, it's called like an honors, but a post-grad, which is your stepping stone to MBA to do your master's. And then I did that degree, and it really was, I must say, I had a lot of support. I did it through Regent Business School, and they were very supportive of me. I think because I was an enigma, they didn't quite know how to handle me because, everybody else in my class was between 25 and 40, and mostly government employees who somebody else was paying for them because it's very expensive. I mean, to save up and get the money, because literally everybody was saying, oh, you're just going to be flushing that money down the toilet. And I said, not a damn, if I'm paying, I'm going to do it. And it does take a lot of hours, but at that stage, I was working hard. I was working Monday, Tuesday, Joburg, Wednesday, Thursday, Cape Town, Friday, Saturday, Durban, Sunday on my farm. And 1 week of the month, I work for Women Empowerment Africa, and I was working with Melanie Hawken from Lionesses of Africa. So we'd go into Africa, we'd go to Cote d'Ivoire, Rwanda, Malawi, Zimbabwe, all those places, and we would work with women entrepreneurs. So I was traveling a lot, and I did a lot of my studying on the airplane, because in the airplane, nobody interrupts you. If you try to study at home, this is happening, that's happening, this is, people. But in the airplane, you sit. And I did a lot of overseas trips as well. So like 17 hours across, And so in that time, I studied. I remember sitting in Dubai airport, because what I did is I used to record my textbooks. I used to read them to myself, record them on my phone, and then listen to them. Like other people listen to music, I was listening to my textbooks. So you've got to come up with a system that works for you. And that system worked for me. So I almost could memorize my textbooks. And then, and you started with the exams. And believe me, writing exams in South Africa is not for the faint-hearted. So I'll give you, for instance, my worst subject was statistics. I hate statistics. And I really studied, and I really learned, and I really knew what I was doing. And it was the night before we were writing statistics, and I was in my flat in Meadowdale. And I was talking to my friend in Australia, and I said, I'm writing tomorrow. Just thank God everything's working. Well, that was fatal to say. With that, the electricity went off, but the generator kicked in. Then the water went off. Then the Wi-Fi went off, then the generator ran out of petrol. So I was stuck in my flat. I couldn't get out because everything's electric. I work for electric companies, so electric doors, electric garage doors, electric windows. And so I literally started climbing out the window. I was just so lucky that somebody came in through the emergency exit and let me out. I literally was climbing out the window to take an African taxi to school to write my exam. I couldn't wash in the morning because I had no water. I ended up walking down 2 flights of stairs. My basement had flooded because the pumps didn't work and all hell broke loose there. Took a bucket of water to flush the loo and to wash myself. And that's how I went to write my exam. The statistics was my worst thing. 1, because I don't like it, and 2, because that was my lead up to writing that exam. So you're either scruffy, dirty, with dirty hair, no makeup on, you haven't washed your body, your clothes from yesterday put on, and just hoping for the best and have to write this flipping exam. So it's not for the faint-hearted. I've got to tell people, everybody says, oh, Margaret, you're so lucky. I'm going to sign up for my MBA now. I said, be prepared to put in a lot of work. And the reason I did it, why did I do it? I did it to prove to the youth of today that you don't have to borrow money to get your degree. You don't have to. I didn't borrow money. I worked for my money. I saved my money and I paid my money. And I learned hard. I had great incentive to learn and I had great incentive to pass. There was no way on God's earth I was going to fail because I had told too many people what I was doing and why I was doing it. They were holding me responsible. So yeah, that's what happened. But it was a lot of hours, but I don't sleep much. I only sleep from on a normal night, midnight to 4 a.m. I only sleep 4 hours a night, as does Tony Robbins, as does Donald Trump, as does Richard Branson. You can't sleep your life away. And with a lot of the students who were in my class, they were African students who loved to sleep. If you said, what do you love doing? Oh my God, I love to sleep. If I can just sleep the whole Saturday, I'll sleep the whole Saturday. I said, I could no more do that than I could fly to the moon. I just love my time I can spend doing things. I don't want to sleep. In fact, I have to force myself to go to bed because I could just stay up right through the night. Yeah.
Margaret, I'd like to ask you two things. A good leader, what would you say the qualities are? And also starting up your business, what are your views on borrowing?
Okay, so a good leader has to lead by example, and that's been my success. I will say my staff, I've got thousands of them, as you know. I say to them, I will never ask you to do something that I won't do. I will clean the toilets, I'll scrub the floors, I'll help load a truck, I'll drive a truck, I will serve a grumpy customer, I will do absolutely anything. I will never ask you to do something I won't do. So then I lead by example. And when I take a new person in, I show them how to do the job. I don't tell them now do this, now do that. I show them how to do the job. So they know that I can do it better than them. And they know that I'll give it my all and I'll do a really, really good job. So that's what they see. And that's my philosophy of a leader. A leader is somebody who gets somebody else to do something and teaches them how to do it and makes them enjoy doing it. So that's a true leader. Because now, like, I'm at home now. I didn't have to be out there. I've got thousands of people working for me. They know how I work. They know how I operate. They know my philosophies. And they know, honesty, integrity, and loyalty. Honesty, you don't ever steal from me because they know that'll be the end of them. Integrity, doing what you say you're going to do. If you say you're going to phone that customer back. And loyalty, you've got to be loyal to each other and to help your friends and to the company. So they know how we operate. And that's a true leader, in my opinion. What was the second part of the question?
The second one was borrowing money, your views on borrowing money to set up your business.
Okay. I can tell you now, and nobody likes it, and all the people who tell you to borrow money are all the people lending money. And I don't believe in it. The only time I borrowed money is to buy property, and then I paid it off as quick as I can. But when my philosophy, as I told you, like with Anna the Baker, work with what you've got, what you have right now. Because why do 97% of businesses fail? Very, very simple. Because you borrow the money to start. You're good at business. You start making a profit. But the minute you start making a profit, what you've got to do? You've got to give all that money back to the person you borrowed it from. So you think, well, what the hell am I doing working? I'm working my ass off. I borrowed the money from this person. I'm giving them all my profits. And what's left for me? That's why the stats on businesses failing are so high. Because your common sense has to tell you, when you make that money, you're making it because you want to spend it. You don't want to give it to somebody else. So I get shouted down a lot of the time because that is my philosophy. That is the truth. And the only people telling you to borrow money are the people lending it.
I need to agree with that. Okay, so let's discuss the lockdown. Okay, what effect it's had on you and on the entrepreneurs, ladies that you assist. What adjustments have had to be made, and also, most importantly, what lessons have we learned that we can take forward?
Wow. Well, we've learned so many lessons. Our lesson was that we've got to appreciate what we have and not moan about what we haven't got. I think that's the biggest thing. We've got to appreciate, we've got to be grateful for everything we've got, because what we're not grateful for gets taken away, which has been proved. We weren't grateful for our lovely life. We weren't grateful for all the socializing. We just thought it was our due. And now what are we missing? We're missing the socializing. We're missing having friends around. We're missing all that, so that's really difficult. When lockdown first happened, like everybody else thought, 3 weeks off in the middle of the year, how nice is this? And suddenly you get that cold fish. Oh my God, my salary bill runs into millions. I owed hundreds of millions to my suppliers, and they were knocking on my door saying, give us our money. And if I hadn't built a really, really strong foundation in the old days, and I'm a serial saver, I save and I pay off bonds and I, do that all the time. If I hadn't done that, we would not be here today, I have to tell you, because everybody came knocking at the door. I couldn't say to my staff, I'm not going to pay you. You've got to wait for your UIF, because the UIF took ages to come through. I can't leave them starving. How are they going to feed their families? So I had to use my money to pay them to feed their families. I had to use my money to pay my creditors so that they would give me stuff when we did open up again. And it was really, really tough in the beginning because we didn't know. I think the fear of the unknown is the biggest fear. If you know what's happening, you can deal with it. But this was totally unknown. And then we'd go up and then we'd go down. Then we were on level 4 and then we couldn't sell. If you came into my shop on level 4 and said, Margaret, I'll give you 100,000 Rand for that television set, I can't sell it to you because it was against the law. So we couldn't sell washing machines. We had people with 6 kids, couldn't buy a washing machine. I had people trying to homeschool their kids, didn't have a TV. It was hectic. But as soon as we got on to level 3, then we flew because people knew that we didn't know if lockdown was coming again. So we sold chest freezers like they were going out of fashion because everybody needed to stockpile. We sold new washing machines because the ladies were at home and the old washing machine was so stuffed and was chomping up the clothes, so they bought new washing machines. Our biggest seller was vacuum cleaners, so people bought nice things for themselves. So that worked really well for us. For us, the big thing was the safety of our staff. So we split our staff into 3. We had one group at work, one group at home, and one group in reserve. So we would alternate day by day. And so we test them every day to make sure that they were COVID free. If somebody in that group got COVID, that whole group would go off for 10 days. Well, it was 2 weeks in the beginning, but now it's 10 days. And then the other 2 groups come in. We test. And thank you, Lord, we've never had one where more than 2 groups have gone down. We've always had one group has been there to serve. They're sanitized, we fog all the time, we test our staff all the time. So it's a very safe shopping environment. But that came with its own costs. We had to buy the fogging machines and, get people to do it. It was, added costs that we hadn't bargained on, but we were just so grateful for any sales we were getting because we had been locked down for so long.
Right, Margaret, so you run quite a few online courses. Can you tell us
Yes.
about those?
So before lockdown, I used to run lots of courses in the store. I had my Women in Business course where they'd come in, I'd teach them about their business, they'd interact with each other, network with each other, help each other to build their businesses. I run domestic worker courses where I upskill domestic workers. So I teach them how to use computers, how to use sewing machines, how to do all sorts of different things, and mostly how to cook. We had so many going. My Entrepreneurs Club was the most biggest and best. I just remember the last one I had in Brakpan, I had 85 entrepreneurs there, men and women. But when lockdown came, I thought people need us now more than ever. More than ever they need us. So that's when we went online. So we have them online. So I have lots. I have had my Women of Worth, which is self-made millionaires. There are a lot of self-made women millionaires in South Africa. And we get together because sometimes when you make a lot of money, you leave your friends behind. I mean, you're talking in millions, your friends still talking in 10 rands, So we got together and we could network amongst each other. We were PLUs, people like us, So we had all these little pockets of groups. But what I've done is I put them all online now. And it's right across the board. This week I've spoken for 3 lots of women in different parts of Africa, because women are women, business is business, and now with the internet, it's brought us all so much closer together. I run a comedy club as well because you've got to laugh through all this. So we had the comedy club today and we just had a good laugh for half an hour, and you feel so good afterwards because and we got such good report back from people who say, oh my God, I was feeling so down this morning, but after your comedy club, I'm on top of the world. And to me, that's what it's all about. So I run lots, and our Entrepreneurs Club is starting again, but we have very good speakers who are running successful businesses. If you've done the Tony Robbins course, he said, if you want to be successful, study people who are successful. So we get very successful people to come and talk to others to show them how it's done and to get them to be successful. Yeah.
The Laughter Club sounds amazing. We definitely have to check that out.
Yeah, check it out. It's on Facebook.
And Margaret, one thing we need to chat about is often, and you'll find this, that women don't support other women. What they do is you'll often find that they break one another down. I mean, this is why we started the That's Your Business platform, so that we could support each other and be there for each other, and also a network and use each other's services, because what often happens is, a friend of yours, does a certain service, but you'd rather go to somebody else, and that's what That's Your Business want to do, is to get us all together again and start supporting each other. What are your views on that?
I think one thing COVID taught us is we've got to stick together. You haven't got time to fight. I mean, you know, people, I went to 5 funerals last week, 5 of my friends who've died, who, I mean, I don't want to fight with anybody ever again, because I thank God I didn't fight with any of them. But just imagine, life is too short. We've got to support each other. My saying is girls fight, but women support each other. And I think the old way, the old-fashioned women didn't support each other, but now we definitely do. And we've got such amazing people. But in my groups, I want to tell you, I only have really good people. One word of bitchiness, and I've had it, you're out. You don't come back. It's a point of no return. And none of those other women will deal with you. So they will not be bitchy. They will only be nice to each other. I only ever did it once, and that was a precedent. I've never had another problem since then. But I think the modern woman is not a bitchy woman. I think the modern woman is a really nice woman. But I always say, choose your friends wisely. I'm very fussy who I'm friends with. I only am friends with really nice people. If they have one nasty streak, they don't come back into my life. You know, there's an old saying, you don't have to attend every argument you're invited to. If somebody wants to argue with me, I'm out of there. I don't attend that argument. I was interviewed recently and somebody said, what do you do if somebody starts talking negatively in front of you? I say, I leave. I'm not a tree. I'm not planted. I leave. You don't have to stay there. You go. Move yourself physically out of there, you know. And that's what I say to women who are in bad relationships as well. You're not a tree. You don't have to stay there. I don't care how many kids you've got. One of my managers who worked for me, I met her when she was living under the bridge in Christian de Wet with 3 children. She had no home. She left her husband. She was not going to put up with him another minute. She didn't care. She left. We nurtured her through. Today, she's one of my top managers. She is the most amazing woman. And she's got such empathy for other women because she went through it herself.
Our last question is related around the theme that women very often are wary to speak about their own accomplishments. They feel like it's something of showing off. So our last segment is always when we ask a lady to blow her own voo-voo. Blow your own voo-voo and tell us of the accomplishments you're most proud of.
Well, you know, I think in the old days, you used to keep quiet. You know, as little girls, we were taught to be nice and sweet and kind and just, you know, sit in the background and be little wallflowers. Today, women, if you want to be out there, you've got to put yourself out there. I think we're not used to talking about our accomplishments. And I always let mine sort of go ahead of me because people do, they research me and they know when they come to speak to me, they know where I've been and what I've done. But I think the top thing that changed my life dramatically was when in 2012, when I won Businesswoman of South Africa. I think that definitely made a huge change in my life. It gives you the confidence to know, you know, what women would say, am I okay? Was that okay? I didn't have to say that anymore because I knew I was okay. In 2014, I won Most Influential Woman in Business in Africa. And that to me was a fabulous accomplishment because it's okay to do it in South Africa, but now I was in the whole of Africa and I won that accolade. To me, the other nice thing about that is in that picture, I'm 64 years old, but Richard Mapanya, who ran Most Influential Man in Africa, was 94 years old. Wow. And he was still working every day. And it gave me, and when I've showed that picture, so many women who were thinking at 70, I'm over the hill, have said, Margaret, you've given me a new lease on life because I know now that I've got another 20 years at least to carry on. I mean, my mother's 95 and she's hale and hearty. She can walk, she can run, she can joke, she can laugh. She's compass mentis at 95, you know. And I mean, as women, we're going to live to over 100. So we may as well have a good time as a really bad time, you know. We may as well look good instead of looking bad. Absolutely. So, yeah. Okay, yeah, so my accomplishment, I've won lots and lots of awards, over 50 different awards for various different things. But you see, that's not my love language. My love language is doing acts of kindness for other people. And so what I do is every single day, and that's one of the nice things about being rich, is that every single day I do something for somebody that they don't know I've done and they can't thank me for. And that is my joy, and that's what I love doing. So for me, accomplishments are lovely and they do give you confidence, but they're fleeting. To me, being good to other people and helping other people to improve their lives, I don't give, people come to me all the time, give me money, Margaret, you want a lot of money, give me the money for this. I never do, because that's so short. It's like taking drugs. You get a high for a minute, boop, and you're back down lower than you were. I teach them how to make money. I teach them how to improve their lives, and I teach them how to run a good business. And if you can do that, you leave a legacy. Like I've left a legacy for my children, and I've got 5 grandchildren. I've left them a legacy, and I can go to my deathbed happy that I know that I've given my best to this life, And I've given my best to my children, to my husband, and to my grandchildren, and to my mother. And those are the only people who are really important. I've got a sign above my door which says family isn't everything, it's the only thing. And it's so important to have a good family, leave a legacy to your family, and let people think about you when you're gone. My grandsons will remember me long after I've gone, I can promise you, because I work with them often. And I mean, they're so out of my league what they're doing now. I mean, my 5-year-old playing games that I didn't even know what's going on, but I can still give them the good basics. Oh, sorry, I'm in Joburg. That's the police helicopter. It's a police helicopter going hell for leather to Santon. I don't know what happened there. They all. So yeah, I think the best thing is to leave a legacy and leave people only saying nice things about you when you're gone. So if you want, so the women watching this, if you want to be bitchy, just think what people are going to say about you when you're gone. Rather be nice and let them say nice things about you when you're gone.
Well, I'm sure they'll say something like, Margaret's the mother mentor.
I'm the mother to many. I always laugh when people come up to me and call me mommy, because I just think I'm mommy to the nation here.
Yes, I think that's about it, Margaret. And thank you so much once again for being with us at That's Her Business. And thank you also for all the inspiring information that you've, you've got for us and for all our members and viewers to listen to. It's really been inspirational and wonderful having you on our show.
Thank you so much.
Thanks. And just follow me on my Facebook page, because every day I put out 10 blogs before 7 o'clock in the morning. And then I do goal setting. I do coffee chats. I interview famous people. There's always something going on there. So if you follow me on Facebook, you'll always have something exciting to do every single day. Thanks.
Wonderful.
Definitely will. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Margaret.
Thanks, Margaret.
Bye.
Cheers. Bye.
Bye. Have a fun day.